Hey, welcome back to that God Power channel. This is the channel where we're going to unlock the God Power laying dormant on the inside of you. But first, today, what we're going to do is continue breaking down the book of Genesis. And specifically, we're in chapter 11. Now, last time I told you that we would do more, or I would give you more information about this guy Nimrod from chapter 10, which chapter 10 was all about the bloodlines and, looking through the ancestry and whatnot. Ancestry.com was what chapter 10 was. Now, the dude Nimrod, there was discrepancies when I looked up information about him. Some Bible, like I'm reading two different versions of the Bible at the same time. So I read one version and then I'm presenting on the screen a whole different version, like so that we can see the discrepancies in the different translations. But when I looked up this translation for the Nimrod part from last time, it was talking about he was a hunter and like a famous one. Some people thought he was hunting animals. Some people thought he was hunting men. Some verses said that he was hunting after God's heart, like in favor, and some people were saying that it was against God's heart. So I don't know exactly what was real, and I guess that's why it's a question still, not just for me, but for everybody. But with no further ado, let's jump into chapter 11 this time, and this is going to be explaining the story of Babel. And if you guys are familiar with that, the Tower of Babel, this is that story. So here we go. At one time, all the people of the world spoke the same language and used the same words. As the people migrated to the east and found a plain in the land of Babylonia, they settled there. They began saying to each other, let's make bricks and harden them with fire. Now, in this region, they use bricks instead of stone, right? So in the other regions, they used to build stuff with stone. But here, apparently, they use bricks. Then they said, come, let's build a great city for ourselves with a tower that reaches into the sky. This will make us famous and keep us from being scattered all over the world. Remember this verse right here. They said, the reason why they're building this tower is so that it reaches up to the sky and it makes them famous, right? Just remember that. This is their intentions. But the Lord came down to look at the city and the tower that the people were building. Look, the people are united and they all speak the same language. After this, nothing they set out to do will be impossible for them. Come, let's go down and confuse the people with different languages. Then they won't be able to understand each other. In that way, the Lord scattered them all over the world and they stopped building the city. And this is why the city is called Babel, because it's where the Lord confused the people with different languages. In this way, he scattered them all over the world. Now, that is actually the story of the Tower of Babel. You would think that it was a way longer story, but it's not. But we can break it down a little bit. Let's break it down a tad bit, because why did God destroy the tower? He said that the people would be able to do anything. So we got to get rid of this. Nothing would be impossible for them. And why is that bad? Because it's bad because of what I told you to remember before. They built this tower so that they can receive the glory. They want to be famous. They were building this structure in their name, meaning that after they do this, it's like, why do we need God? Because we could do everything on our own, right? And so God wasn't feeling that. That's what I think. This is my interpretation. God was like, you haven't built this altar to me, like Abram was doing in the past. You haven't built these structures to me. So, no, it's coming down. And that's why I think he took down. If you have another opinion on why God took down the Tower of Babel and stopped that city, let me know. Because it doesn't sound like the people were necessarily doing evil acts like they explained earlier, like when God was like, dang, these people are evil. It doesn't sound like that. It sounds more so like God seeing that in their hearts, they were doing it for the wrong reason, for their own selves to receive the glory and not God. So the next part of this chapter, it goes from the story of Shem. If we can remember, Noah had a few sons. He had three sons that we talk about: Shem, Ham, and Japheth, right? And these sons are they populated the rest of the earth. Everybody's related to them. Now, let's see how we get to the next main character of the Bible. So the last main character was Noah and his sons, right? We got past that story. And then we just told some bloodline story. Then we told about a story about a city But now let's go to the next main character, whose name is Abram, by the way. But we need to know where Abram comes from. He comes from the line of Shem. So this is from Noah's sons. We'll see how we get from Shem all the way down to Abram. And also, I think that I can present to you like this little, I drew something just to understand how this bloodline or how this timeline is about to work out. So check this out. This is the account of Shem's family. 2 years after the great flood, when Shem was 100 years old, he became the father of Arphaxad. We talked about Arphaxad last time. After the birth of Arphaxad, Shem lived another 500 years and had other sons and daughters. When Arphaxad was 35, he became the father of Shelah. After the birth of Shelah, Arphaxad lived 403 years. Shelah was 30 years. He became the father of Eber. Shelah lived 403 years later. When Eber was 34, he became the father of Peleg. And then Eber lived 430 more years. When Peleg was 30, he became the father of Reu. After Reu, Peleg lived 209 years. And then when Reu was 32 years old, he became the father of Serug. And then he lived another 207 years. And then when Serug was 30, he became the father of Nahor. After the birth of Nahor, Serug lived another 200 years. And then when Nahor was 29, they're getting younger and younger having these babies. When Nahor was 29, he became the father of Terah. And after the birth of Terah, Nahor lived another 119 years. And they're dying quicker and quicker. And had other sons and daughters. After Terah was 70 years old, he became the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. So Abram has two siblings, Nahor and Haran. And his father is named Terah. And so that's how we got there. I know I just sped through that, but a couple of things I wanted to point out in this. Beyond the names, like I don't feel like it's necessary to remember these names, but after you read it enough, you'll probably remember it. But I was thinking about in the other chapter, God said, because the angels or the sons of God came down and made it with the sons of men, God said that the human lifespan is 120 years. But all of these people that we just named, that was before the flood, bro, when God said that. And then this is after the flood now. And we're seeing still people living like Arphaxad lived for a long time, bro. Arphaxad lived 400 something years. Shem lived 500, 600 years. So I had to look that up. I was like, why? So if God said, I'm cutting your lifespan down to 120, how come all of these people right here just lived for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years? Well, I figured it's because it's like if you look at it slowly by slowly, their years keep getting cut. So like Shem was 600 years old. Arphaxad was 438. Shelah was 433. Eber was 464. Peleg was only 239. You see, drastic cut. Reu only lived to be 239. Serug was 230. Nahor was, what is this? Was it 148? Terah was 205. And by the time we get lower and lower, the lifespan keeps on decreasing and decreasing. So that's how we get down to Abram, Nahor, and Haran. Remember, they're siblings. We're about to explore Terah's family, which is Abram, Haran, and Nahor. But we need to know a little bit more about their father, because, to know about their father would give us a little bit more insight about them. So this is the account of Terah's family. Terah was the father of Abram, Nahor, and Haran. And Haran was the father of Lot. Right. Lot is another main character in the Bible. So we've got Abram, his brother is Nahor, and Haran. And Haran is the father of Lot. So that means Lot is Abram's nephew. Cool. But Haran died in Ur the Chaldeans, the land of his birth. So this Ur the Chaldeans, I'm thinking this is like a bigger city, like a place where there's lots and lots going on. And this is where Lot's father, Haran, died. And Abram ended up taking care of Lot for Haran. While Terah was still living, Haran died. So Terah was still alive. And remember, Terah was alive when all these other people were alive, like Shem. And I'm not even gonna lie. Look, you can look at this thing. Shem lived for the longest time, bro. He lived 600 years. That means he saw all of this, all of these people. He met them. I don't know if he was like some kind of mystical figure at this point because he had so many children, but he was still alive. um, Meanwhile, Abram and Nahor both married. The name of Abram's wife was Sarai. She's a main character too, so we'll be following her story as well. The name of Nahor's wife is Milcah. Milcah. And I don't know if she's really a main character. I haven't seen it pop back up yet. But Milcah and her sister Iscah were daughters of Nahor's brother Haran. So it gets a little messy. Yes, it does. But remember, this is not our culture. This is their culture, right? We don't live that same culture. Let's break this down a little bit. So Nahor, wife, Milcah, and her sister were Nahor's brother's children. So Nahor ended up marrying his niece. Ugh. But Sarai was unable to become pregnant and had no children. So Nahor had children, I suppose. And I wrote in parentheses, Nahor is Lot's uncle and his brother-in-law. So weird. One day, Terah took his son Abram, his daughter-in-law Sarai, and his grandson Lot, and moved away from Ur the Chaldeans and headed for the land of Canaan. But they stopped at a place called Haran and settled there. Terah lived for 205 years, and then he died while he was still in Haran. Now, this is interesting because it says that not all of the people, so Haran, we know Haran's dead, but Nahor and his wives and his family did not come with Terah to the different places. I guess Nahor stayed up in Ur, the Chaldeans, but he took Abram, so it was Abram, Terah, Sarai, yeah, I guess that's right, and Lot. So that's who he chose to take with him. And this is where actually the story will follow, like that group of main characters. Abram, though, is the top dog right here of this story. He's going to be carrying us through these stories here. But that is the end of chapter 11. And again, if you have any answers to those questions, like maybe you have different answers to why those people lived so long after God said that they shouldn't live so long, or why God destroyed the Tower of Babel, like put it in the comments and we talk about it. But I think it was very interesting to jump into another main character story so we could pick up another story in the Bible and see what happens. Because Abram has a really cool story, and I'm really interested to see what's going to happen next. After they moved from Ur the Chaldeans, which was a bigger city, they went into the land of Haran, which is kind of like the wilderness, kind of not. It's a lesser city than Ur the Chaldeans. So let's see what happens here. Remember, Terah died. Now Abram is the one in charge. Abram, Sarai, Lot are together. So let's see what happens next. I hope that you enjoyed chapter 11, and I hope you're ready to break down chapter 12 in the next one. But other than that, hope you have a really great day, and remember that you got that God power. On your heart, tugging on your... Get them.